Moonweave petals, Whisperwind's gift, bridge the veil where shadows shift. Fiznik's sprocket spinner intoned softly, his eyes scanning the misty expanse of the whispering bog. The gnome illusionist's never-ending quest for arcane components had led him into this treacherous swamp with Inky, his faithful black squirrel familiar, scurrying alongside him. Fiznik cut a peculiar figure in the gloomy wetland. His diminutive frame was draped in a patchwork cloak of muted greens and browns, expertly tailored to blend with the surrounding foliage. Atop his head perched a short pointed hat of supple red leather, its brim adorned with tiny silver bells that he'd magically silenced for this expedition. Around his waist, a wide belt sagged under the weight of numerous pouches, each containing carefully organized illusionist paraphernalia, prisms, colored powders, bits of fleece, and other curious oddments. As they ventured deeper into the bog, the air grew thick with the pungent aroma of decay and stagnant water. Fiznik's keen ears picked up a symphony of unsettling sounds. The plaintive croak of frogs, the rustle of unseen creatures slithering through the underbrush, and the occasional plop of something heavy dropping into murky pools. Inky's whiskers twitched constantly, his beady eyes darting from shadow to shadow. The squirrel had been Fiznik's loyal companion ever since the gnome had rescued him from a tangle of vines in a faraway mangrove forest years ago. Suddenly, a blood-curdling shriek shattered the eerie calm. Fiznik spun around to face a horrifying sight. A penanglen, its disembodied head floating above writhing entrails, eyes gleaming with malevolent hunger. As the penanglen lunged forward, Fiznik's fingers began to dance through the air, tracing invisible patterns. The air shimmered around him, and suddenly, where the small gnome had stood, there now appeared to be a towering, armor-clad warrior wielding a blazing sword. The illusory warrior brandished its weapon, causing the penanglen to hesitate momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, Fiznik scanned the area and spotted a cluster of thorny vines nearby. With a subtle gesture, he commanded Inky to start gnawing at their base. The squirrel immediately darted towards the vines, his sharp teeth making quick work of the plant fibers. While maintaining the illusion of the imposing warrior, Fiznik began to weave a second spell. However, before he could complete the incantation, the penanglen's hair-like tendrils lashed out with unexpected speed, striking the gnome's arm. Fiznik gasped as a numbing sensation spread rapidly through his body. He stumbled, struggling against the encroaching paralysis, his concentration on the warrior illusion shattering. The image of the towering warrior flickered and vanished as Fiznik collapsed to the boggy ground. His trembling fingers fumbled with a pouch on his belt, but the hemp tie caught on a button, refusing to budge. As Fiznik's limbs grew heavier, Inky bounded back to his friend and sprang into action, biting through the stubborn tie. With remarkable dexterity, Inky reached into the pouch, pulled out a tiny sachet, and placed it in Fiznik's barely responsive hand. With the last of his willpower, Fiznik managed to bring the sachet to his mouth and chew its contents. Almost immediately, warmth flooded his body, pushing back the paralysis. His limbs tingling as sensation returned, Fiznik struggled to his feet. Seizing the thorny vine that Inky had freed, Fiznik began weaving a new illusion. To the penanglen's eyes, the thorny vine transformed into a writhing, venomous serpent as Fiznik slung it through the air. Caught off guard by this sudden attack, the penanglen failed to evade. The very real thorns entangled themselves in its supernatural entrails, eliciting an otherworldly screech of pain and surprise. Pressing his advantage, Fiznik crafted one final illusion, a shimmering portal yawning open beneath the creature, promising to drag it down to some hellish realm. Faced with this new threat, the penanglen tore itself free from the thorny vines and fled into the night sky, leaving behind scraps of sizzling entrails. As the illusions faded, Fiznik slumped against a gnarled tree, his small frame shaking with exhaustion. Inky scampered over, chittering concernedly as he nuzzled Fiznik's hand. "Thank you, my clever friend," Fiznik said, scratching the squirrel behind the ears. "I dare say we've had enough excitement for one night. Let's find that night orchid and be on our way." As they resumed their search, Fiznik's mind turned to the law of his craft. He recited softly, "In component and gesture, power resides, but a prepared mind is where true magic hides. For when danger looms and death draws near, its wit and wisdom a mage holds dear." With that thought, the gnome and his squirrel companion ventured deeper into the whispering bog, ever watchful for both the elusive night orchid and whatever other terrors might lurk in the shadows.